In this video, we're going to analyze Stone Creek by Behr paint so that you will know exactly how to use it in your home. Don't think of this video as a color review. This is more of a paint color dissection. So not only am I going to tell you all about this paint color, but I'm also going to give you a completed color palette that you can use in your home today, tomorrow, or whenever you decide to paint. The thing is, paint colors can be pretty complicated. They all have these things called undertones. Some paint colors are lighter, some are darker, and half the time you don't know what you're doing. And the other half, you still don't know. Well, as usual, I got some free color advice for you to help steer you in the right direction, but it's just advice, so don't hold me to it. Ultimately, these choices, they do need to mesh with you and of course, your home. So Stone Creek is a paint color that's firmly planted in the neutral color category. And this is good. We like this. There's definitely nothing wrong with being neutral as a paint color because it usually means you're working with a paint color that is a little more user-friendly, a little more versatile. Colors in the neutral color family are going to be a bit softer and more muted with their hue or their coloration, and this is going to give you more options in the color selection process when deciding everything else. This is why modern interior design has been flooded with grayish and gray and beige and any other age you can think of. You may have the odd vibrant color here and there, but at the end of the day, there is a reason why the best-selling paint colors for nearly all companies happen to be neutral. So the first main point that I want to key in on is the light reflectance value of Stone Creek. And this tells us exactly how light it will appear in your home. It scores a 53 out of 100 on the light reflectance value scale. This means it's reflecting 53% or just about half the light that hits it, which does make it a mid-tone paint color. That means it's middle of the road in terms of brightness. This will obviously depend on how much light is coming into that space, because if you have a ton of windows, it's reflecting half the light, but there's a ton of light, so it's gonna look lighter. The opposite is true as well, because if you only have one window or no windows and maybe one overhead light, and it's just reflecting half of that small amount of light, it's gonna look darker. I do like incorporating midtones into my color schemes, although I will say they're not necessarily my first choice for like the main color of the palette, just because people will gravitate towards lighter colors just to reflect more light back into their home. Unless if you're into like dark academia Harry Potter vibes and you want all your walls to be really dark and moody and spooky. So Stone Creek as a color, what it does is it combines gray and beige, and it gives you this almost muted greeny tan color. So it should feel fairly warm as a neutral. It's not blue leaning or really earthy and gray leaning. It does have that nice cozy quality to it that I think people will gravitate towards. Just be aware that the beigey sort of gold undertone aspect of it can give it a bit of a green coloration, which is not necessarily for everyone. I see this color working in a number of different ways. You could even use it as a hallway color if you really wanted to, if you loved it, but I do see it more as a living room color, dining room, potentially bedrooms. I don't even think it's too dark to use in a basement either. It'll largely depend on other factors like your flooring, or what undertones are in that, how light or dark is that flooring, all that stuff. Now the color palette that I put together sort of leans into a few lighter colors just because we're starting with something that is in that mid-tone sort of territory. So I opted for the upper half of the light reflectance value scale, basically lighter colors. The first one is Peau Blanc, which is the first option. It has an 83 LRV, which is much lighter and much brighter in comparison. It's also rich and creamy. It does have the smallest hint of maybe a bit of a gray-green hiding in the background, but really in practicality, especially in open areas of your home, you're gonna see that beautiful yellow warmth really come through prominently. There might be certain situations where you might even think it's an off-white or even white because that's how bright it is. It's gonna reflect a ton of light, and this can help bolster or at least balance the lack of light that Stone Creek isn't reflecting back. This is my easygoing choice for a really bright color to paint your walls with if you want to bring in as much energy into your space by just having that beautiful glow on your walls. Patience is the second color pairing, and we've gotten a little bit darker here and exchanged the creamy yellow warmth in Peau Blanc with a mixture of brown gray and a touch of rosiness too. This is a color that I almost see as a subtle accent color, maybe a nearly neutral where it's not quite neutral because it does have that reddish undertone to it, which could throw people off a little bit. But I do think that if you use it in select spaces, even, 1 or 2 rooms maybe, it can really have an interesting impact and just give you a different aesthetic altogether. It does take things into a slightly peachy, maybe mauve direction. It's also lighter than Stone Creek, so it sort of bridges the gap between those colors in terms of how dark or light they are. So you have a nice amount of dimension. You have those nice little steps in darkness. I can see Patience being a great bedroom color, or even an office color where you're getting some work done and you really need some patience. Abyss is the accent color, and you can clearly see why. It's extremely dark, and it starts with a base of blue shaded with some dark green. It's a very wow color. It will make a huge statement in larger doses because it really is a deep, dark, rich teal. So this would be a great powder room color. It would be awesome in a dining room where you really want to show off your beautiful table that you got at Crate and Barrel. But it's also fantastic in smaller doses in the form of accessories or throw pillows, blankets, even your curtains or your drapes or whatever. It's gonna look nice. But all that being said, you got your wall colors, you got the palette, but now you gotta finish off with some trim colors to go on your baseboards, your doors, and your frames. So the first one I'd recommend is white. Good old number 52 by Behr. This is the most basic white paint you can get. It's nice and clean. It's technically just as bright as Peau Blanc was, but you don't have any of that yellow quality to it. So you know you're getting something really clean, stark, and neutral here. This is the simplest option, I would say. A darker trim option for Stone Creek would be Chinchilla, which is a super rich, kind of like a topsoil brown. It also feels a little bit shaded and slightly dusty because of that dark gray aspect that really tones the whole thing down. But it will give you a nice dark trim option if that's exactly what you're looking for. Now here it is all together. Let me know what you think of this Behr paint palette. And we got another Behr paint palette right over here. It's fun to say.